Morning!
Morning!
Welcome to the India Explained podcast, recorded in London and San Francisco. One take, unscripted, no rehearsal. Hey Bunty, what's up?
Everything's fine. Lovely sunny day in London. I've completed my groceries for today. We are having fish later on in the evening, so that's big ticket news for me. What's up with you?
Oh, fantastic. Just the same thing. Sorry, Sunday is, was hanging a little bit in the garden and then, taking the kid out for a swim. Um, try not to work on Sunday, but sometimes have to catch up a little bit. So yeah, nothing very exciting, but, just everything is routinely very pleasant. So let's get going with our story. I hope you're having beer with your fish, because last I heard, alcohol wasn't banned or prohibited in London. Neither is it in San Francisco, and I might have a glass of red wine. In Bihar, however, alcohol has been prohibited since the Nitish Kumar government decided to do so. Now, what's happened is, as a story in Live Mint on Thursday, May 4th, uh, says, and I don't think there's an author for this story. No, it's just probably the desk. The title is Missing Alcohol Was Drunk by Rats, says Bihar police. For real.
Right, right.
And the lead is the Bihar police says rats finished off more than 9 lakh liters of alcohol seized from people flouting the Nitish Kumar government's total prohibition, and a probe is on. I mean, how you probe rats, God knows. But anyways, so take it away, man.
There are three pragmatic things that we have to put out here. One, the reputation of the good people of Bihar or Biharis as being honest or conversely being corrupt is been a long running thing in the national psyche, that if you are Bihari, you are corrupt, right? um, and that's something that we should pick up on the story. Second of all, I'd quite like to understand whether prohibition has been successful in any part of the world, and particularly any part of India. I know it's operational in Gujarat, but friends of mine who did their higher studies in Gujarat, they said it's like a nominal thing. There are lots of get-arounds, and the get-arounds are just there. Like you just have to, like, you go into a place and say that, rather than say I will have dhokla, you say I'll have chaman dhokla, and for that place the signal is you will have, rum or whiskey.
Hmm,
Um, and the third thing is, who has benefited from this transaction?
right.
Because rats doing nine, if it were a couple of liters and rats, understood, we could have worked with that. But 9 lakh liters of alcohol and rats is a bit disproportionate. So let's pick up on the first thing, which is Bihar and the
Hmm,
reputation of Bihar as being a hotbed of corruption.
hmm.
That Nitish Babu hasn't done anything, right? He's trying to make headway into different things, but has he made any difference, do you think, to the reputation of doing business out of Bihar, studying in Bihar? Because I remember we did previously another episode where people in Balia, I think, no, not Balia, sorry, there was another place in Bihar where they were caught cheating with parents helping them cheating. So,
Right.
what's your take on it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I sometimes wonder that obviously, Bihar has serious problems, but then other Indian states which are also prosperous also have serious problems. So Maharashtra, which has, been among the more prosperous Indian states, I remember reading a few years ago, and I was stunned by this figure that I think it was 42,000 crores. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was 42,000 crores was money that was set aside for irrigation. Not a single penny of that money, not a single paisa of that money went for the purpose for which it was intended. And BJP and Congress leaders or NCP leaders across the board apparently were complicit in swallowing that money, and there was no trace of it. So, other places also have the same kind of corruption, they have the same kind of violence. So, accepting that Bihar has some, very serious problems, it's one of the Bimaru states and so on. I wonder if stereotypes about Bihar tend to follow the kind of paradigm that stereotypes about, let's say, Africa as a continent do in the global imagination. That's one. The second point, though, I will say is that this comes from a lecture that I attended a few years ago by an anthropologist who spent about 10 years working in Bihar when it was under Lalu's regime. And he said that it is true that Bihar did see some steps towards equality, but on the other hand, the way in which Lalu achieved equality was by really using uh, illegal mechanisms to teach the so-called upper caste lesson. So yes, you would have a situation where Thakurs could no longer oppress Dalits, but what happened, as he said, is, and his exact words were that the Lalu government didn't know how to quote unquote work the file, right? The bureaucrats who came mostly from the upper caste didn't work with them, so the government apparatus itself became like a mafia state. And again, I think his exact words were that Bihar began to see Latin American levels of violence. And I'm wondering now that with the Mahagathbandhan, which was formed to defeat the BJP, which was successful in terms of the state elections, if despite Nitish Kumar's reputation as a kind of honest person, given that you do have this coalition, we are seeing something of the same.
I think a quick point, Rohit. Transparency International did a study in 2016, and the only thing I remember is India was rated 79th most corrupt place out of 176 countries. So while we are taking the line that there is corruption and rampant corruption, we there are more countries that are corrupt than us
Sure.
than we are. So I think that's an element of balance to throw into this. Uh, the second thing that we wanted to pick up on was prohibition and the practice of prohibition, whether that's effective. And I think is the prohibition directed at taking out this gray market in alcohol, which causes quite a lot of deaths. And I know that in Bihar regularly, as I was growing up, you would read about hooch tragedies
Right.
where like people would go blind, people would die. And I'm thinking, is Nitish Babu trying to put in place a set of measures that takes out this risk from the vulnerable section of the communities, vulnerable communities who are not able to afford like a legally manufactured drink, access illegal hooch, and are vulnerable to health. So because if that is the intention, whether or not it is successful, it's a good thing. But my understanding is he's banned all booze.
Right. And I think the way, if that were the primary intention, my sense is the way to do it is to make set some basic standards in place and make alcohol available inexpensively. And I'm sure that if the opportunity is there, let the market take over. Entrepreneurs will set in, and I guess we could call that the Punjab model, which Punjab consumes, I think, collectively as a state, vast amounts of alcohol.
Most
My
of it's Zalim whiskey.
Most of it's Zalim whiskey and Godfather beer.
Yes, yes,
My
yes.
sense is that it's more to do with public morality and the display of public morality. It's a deep-seated public morality in Indian life about cigarette, sharab, etc. And this may be at the level of anecdotal evidence, but a couple of stories suggest that women, particularly in villages and the like, are quite happy with this because men get drunk and are misbehave or don't do work or are taking to degenerating into alcoholics. So obviously the question of alcohol is also tied with some other important issues, which is that in India the consumption of alcohol is often taken as license to do whatever you want to, right? Because
Yeah,
you can always make the argument that I was drunk, therefore I'm not responsible for my actions.
correct,
So it's a fairly
correct.
complex set of factors, and then also the fact remains that so many people lead such wretched lives that this becomes their only form of escaping from those lives. So I know this is a little all over the place, but my sense is really it has to do with the politics of public morality, as I said.
Okay, finally, the last episode. Why rats? Why do you think rats are partial to alcohol? I have no theory on this because I think what has basically happened is we are coming full circle. A corrupt bunch of cops have raided that deposit. And as I was holding up the Gujarat example, where people who went for higher studies could buy liquor, even though liquor was banned, what they've done is they seize stuff and then they flog that stuff back to the people at a premium,
Absolutely, yeah.
and made money. So, unfortunately, I think we started this about corruption and the fact that we middle it in corruption, and Bihar has taken a lot of stick through the last 3-4 decades on corruption. But unfortunately, we kind of are circling back because I don't think rats can credibly pull 9 lakh liters off, much as though we'd like to.
Right. Yeah, I want to
So I
meet
think,
I want to meet these rats. These are rats who should be teaching at Harvard Business School, right? So
yeah.
I'll, we're sort of winding down. I'll just end with two thoughts, and then if you have any other thoughts, you could add a final word. Rats tend to be blamed for everything in India. I
Right.
remember like 20 years ago, there was that outbreak of the plague, and I remember the figure everywhere. Bombay has 9 crore rats. Bombay has 9 crore rats. So rats, poor rats. So let's stop scapegoating rats, right? They're
Yeah.
not the most charming animals, but let's not scapegoat them. The second thing is that if we have the ability to scoot away and to be so efficient when it comes to being corrupt, why can't we be efficient for decent causes? That's the other question I would have,
My,
and that's
my,
my
my, my, I'm jumping in with my final word on this is we are living in a country where there is the popular discourse is against killing cows because it's holy. I have to remind listeners that Ganeshji rocks up on a rat or a mouse. So, what is the state of play on killing rats or mice, whether they've consumed alcohol or not? Because given that everything's been run by kind of a faith book, we just have to raise that.
it's a very good question. And I think we should definitely go back to it and look at it in more detail about will rats be the new cows? All right. I
All
think
right.
we're just at time. So, yeah, take care, man. See you in a bit.
Take care.
Bye.
Chalo, chalo, take care. Bye bye.